On to question 5. We're on the mileage tab. So let's come over here, find mileage, and let's see if we can understand what's going on here. So we have dates, start and end miles, and I guess that's how much distance we traveled. So if we started at 100 and then we finished at 120, then we traveled about 20 or 21 miles. In England and the United States, they use miles. The rest of the world uses kilometers. If this bothers you, just imagine we're talking about kilometers here. Other than that, it's the same calculation. So here we got to calculate a claim cost. Okay, so if you're traveling in your job, you're going to send an expense report every month to the accounting department, and they will pay you for that. And how much are they going to pay you? Well, it looks like 35 cents, or in England it would be pence, for every single mile you travel. So this is interesting because we have to work across multiple sheets here, and that's called a 3D formula. Okay, a formula that goes through the workbook. So let's go ahead and try this out. We're going to go back to the question. Okay, so in E2, okay, what do we want to do there? We want to work out how much we have to claim, okay, and we have to go to a different sheet in order to do that. So this is the amount we traveled, 21 kilometers, and we're going to multiply that. If we click on mileage data, we're going to multiply that by 35 cents per mile. So as usual, we start with an equal sign. Click on the cell you're interested in. You can see the D8 cell reference. Come down and change your sheet. Now click on 35 pence, and you're pretty much done there. Oops, nope, we made a mistake. Let me do that again. Okay, start with the first cell, okay, which is D2, okay, and we're going to multiply that by a number on this sheet over here. Click on the other sheet, mileage data, and then click on the cost, 35 pence per mile, and then we press enter, and there is the value. Okay, however, we have a very complicated looking formula here, so I'm going to copy that formula and we're going to break it down here. We're going to see if we can understand it a little bit. Now it just looks hard, but it really isn't that hard. What's going on here? Well, we can see here we're multiplying two things here. Let me stretch this out a little bit more. Okay, and we're multiplying cell D2, and we're multiplying that with cell B2. However, those two cells are on different sheets. You have a mileage sheet and you have a mileage data sheet. And this here, this exclamation mark, just means on. So you read it backwards. D2 on the mileage sheet, and then the B2 cell on the mileage data sheet. So if you want to see it in a more general way, it would be equal, and then you have the sheet name, and then you have an exclamation mark, okay, which means on, and then you have some cell range. Okay, so it's a cell range, and then when you see that exclamation mark, read it as on some sheet name and read it backwards, and it will make sense. And that's how you would interpret that formula there. So we will try that out. We press enter, and it doesn't quite look right because it's giving it to us in pence, and it really should be in dollars. So let's double click on the formula, and at the very end we want to divide it by 100. There are 100 cents in a dollar or 100 pence in a pound. We press enter, and now it looks correct, and we get the OK right over there. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy this formula down, and something went wrong, and the thing that went wrong here is we're using an absolute cell reference. This cell reference B2 doesn't change. Okay, so B2 is fixed. So let's go ahead and correct that mistake. We'll double click on the formula. We'll find B2. There it is. And just put dollar signs right there. Okay, dollar sign, okay, and then press enter. And this time, I believe that we can copy it over. Now, there's still one more problem here. It's only giving it to us in pounds, okay, and not the pence as well. So it should be like 7 point something or other. So I'm going to highlight all the cells. I'm going to right-click, go to Format Cells, and this is a currency. This is money, okay, and there should be 2 decimal places, 1, 2, and you get a little preview down there. And if you don't like the dollar sign, you can just go ahead and change that to British pounds. It's buried in here somewhere, so let's go down. We see English, Canadian, we may have to go all the way down to UK. And I'm having trouble finding British currency there, so I'm just going to use American money or the dollar symbol, and that's good enough for us. Okay, so you can see here that's not really $7 or £7. It's $7.21, and I think that's about all we need to do on this sheet. Now, on this sheet over here, if we go to the mileage data, we have to add up the total miles that we traveled and the cost. Again, this is a 3D formula, but it's going the other way. So let's click on the total miles, put in our equal sign, and then click on the mileage tab. Actually, before we do that, let's type sum. And then we click on mileage. Okay, here's our mileage. Okay, column D. So we're going to sweep across there, and then we're going to close off our bracket and press enter. Okay, and we got an OK value here. Let's do the same thing with the cost. We're going to add up or sum up the cost. So sum, open bracket, click on the mileage, and this time we're going to add up the cost. Now, we press enter, and there's our cost there. Now, this isn't formatted correctly. This is money. Okay, so 400.4743. I think we have too many decimal places here. So right-click on that cell, click on currency, make sure it's only 2 decimal places, and then choose the correct symbol for the money that you're using. And we press equals, and that looks about correct. Now, we have one small challenge here. We may want to continue here. So we may have some more data. Okay, 766, and then 878, and then 37, and so on. Maybe we may want to add up that entire column and let that column continue. Okay, so what we have to do here is we have to change the formula. We have to modify the formula to not just add up those cells D2 down to D16, but all of column D. And there are 2 different ways of doing this. If you're doing it in Excel, you do it one way. If you're doing it in Google Sheets, you do it a different way. So let's first take a look at how we would do that in Excel. So let's go to the formula. I'm going to press escape here. and we're going to click on mileage. Okay, let's go to miles, and we want to continue adding the miles. Now, if you look at the cells here, D2 to D17, we just want to keep going. Okay, so let me copy the formula, and you're going to see how I'm going to change that formula. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to spread this out a little bit so you can see exactly what we're focusing on. So this is going to start at cell D2, and we're going to continue to D17. But if you want to keep going on the whole column, you do D to D, and that is the whole column. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy that in, and let's see if it works. So let's replace our formula, press enter. Now we see we have 1139. 1139. Okay, let's go ahead and add 1,000 here, and let's see if it updates correctly. We press enter, and then we come over here and we see that number jumped up by 1,000. So we're doing it correctly. We're going to make the exact same change here, okay, with the total cost, but it's not going to be with the mileage. It's going to be with the cost. So we're going to go from E to E. That's the change we're going to make. Right click, copy, and then we come into the formula bar, right click, paste, enter. Okay, we see $400. So let's see if it worked. We'll come over here, we'll add another $100. Okay, press enter. Let's see if it jumped up to $500. So we come over here and we see that it is in fact working correctly. Okay, so a few more things we have to do. Let's go back and see everything we're doing. So in cell B5, okay, both sheets should have poor number formatting, so I'll let you fix the number formatting. That's not a problem. And I think that's about all we really need to do for that one. And I almost forgot. I mentioned that you do it one way in Excel, but you do it in a different way when you're working with Google Sheets. Now, if we look carefully here, okay, we're not starting at the top row. We're starting in the second row, okay? So in Excel, you can just add up those numbers in columns D and column E, and it's going to Excel is going to ignore the first row because those are not numbers. You can't really add them up, so Excel just ignores them. In Google Sheets, however, you have to do this a little bit differently, okay? So coming back to this formula, you're starting at not E1, but at E2, and then you just keep going down, down, down on column E. So that's how you would do it in Google Sheets, okay, as opposed to Microsoft Excel, where you would just leave out that number 2.